Hello and welcome back to my channel. Jacob Payton here, and today I'm going to be talking about Book 4 in the Richard Sharpe series, Sharpe's Trafalgar. Either way, I'm 110% sure I'm pronouncing that wrong, and I do apologize for anyone that can pronounce it right, because I'm sure I am butchering it. Now, if you've been following along with the Richard Sharpe series or you have read it yourself, slight spoilers, because this is the fourth book. So once I start talking about it, things from the second and third book, and even first book, are going to be given away. So I do apologize for that. I do recommend reading the books before watching some of these reviews because, once again, it is a great series, and I would hate to spoil it for somebody that hasn't read it yet. This book starts off with the end of essentially the Indian campaign for Richard Sharpe. The Mataras have been defeated. The fortress fell in the last book. We know that. Sharpe, for all intents and purposes, is a hero, and he is a hero that still has all the wealth he has plundered stitched into his uniforms, and is now basically heading back to England for the first time, unsure of what's going to await him there. And he is pretty uncertain and insecure. He is not only returning to England for the first time in a long time, he is returning there an officer and an ensign. And he's very in his head about the fact that the class system is still very much alive and well in England, to the point that he's very unsure of the reaction he is going to receive when he gets there. I mean, in India, he's a hero. And he's kind of given a little more respect, and it's also a place where a man like him can kind of throw wealth around, and a common foot soldier could rise a little, even though it's not something that could probably happen in the rank and file, as he refers to it back in Europe, where the lines of society, and especially like economic levels, are pretty rigid. So he basically saves a captain's life, who foreshadows the fact that he is chasing after a very dangerous French vessel, because this is, of course, where we're going to get our first taste of Sharpe entering the Napoleonic conflict. And it's also the first taste we're going to get of, Sharpe kind of meeting other English officers or European officers that, even though their own countries and politics oppose Napoleon, they are considering throwing in with the French, because at this point in time, in Sharpe's world, it is made abundantly clear that everyone kind of believes Napoleon's going to win against England and against Spain and Portugal and all these countries Napoleon is fighting. They 110% believe the French cannot be defeated. Mostly due to the fact that there's just so many soldiers, right? The French at this time are using conscription, so essentially everyone that can fight is fighting. And if they lose those people, they will send more people to fight. So yeah, there's this big idea that that the French can't lose, and that is now the conflict that Richard Sharpe is entering. Of course, he does this 1 foot at a time as he is on a boat headed back, and of course runs into Pullman. Pullman was, of course, the leader of the European army that was fighting for the Mataras at the end of book 2 and 3. And is now going under the guise of Baron von Dornberg as he heads back to Europe himself. Sharpe, while he likes the man, is definitely distrusting and doesn't know what he's playing at. And it wouldn't be a Richard Sharpe book if there wasn't a love interest, and in this book it is the Lady Grace, who is married to a it says he's a much older man, but Lady Grace is, I do believe, in her 20s. And while, yes, I'm sure the guy was like 20 years his senior, I'm pretty sure at this point, Sharpe is either in his late 20s or early 30s. And this is something I kind of run into with the rest of the series is Sharpe's love interests are always very much younger than himself, but he's always shown as kind of saving them from a much older jealous lover or, officer or whoever that he kind of takes them away from. And I'm sure that was probably regular for the time period when people were marrying super, super young. But it is kind of a weird headspace, especially when we get to later books and Sharpe is like well into his mid-30s and is chasing after, 17 and 19-year-old women and girls at that point, and talking about how like the person that they are supposed to marry is too old for them. And it's like, dude, that is a bit of the pot calling the kettle black, if you've ever heard that expression. And so not really I don't know, it's just kind of something I find funny, or find like, it's kind of a weird thing, I guess, to have there, and I guess to have be part of Richard Sharpe's character. Like for him to point that out is just kind of weird. Now, of course, it does kind of suck to be Lady Grace, because she very much doesn't like her husband and is kind of trapped in a essential marriage because her family needed money and his family was richer. So it's kind of understandable, because that's kind of how things were done at the time. And of course, that is until Richard Sharpe shows up and immediately woos her with his gruff, soldier-like ways, and they become secret lovers on the boat. I won't spoil the entire book for you guys, because there are a lot of fun parts in this book, and I think it's also kind of fun to see Sharpe kind of get put in this naval battle, because, Sharpe's a foot soldier. He's an infantry man. He talks about that all the time. He can't really ride a horse. He was too poor to own horses, so he's not a cavalry guy, and he's really not a seaman either, right? He can kind of do what he's told, and he can get used to being on a boat, but there is a different flow of combat on a ship where he is not the expert, and I think that's one of the parts of the Richard Sharpe series, to me, that I find really refreshing, because in a lot of books, especially like books that are more action adventure or even military fiction, we're given protagonists that can do everything and that are masters of everything. They're like Master Chiefs from Halo, if you've ever played those, right? He can literally do everything. There's no need to have all these specialized branches and different forces, where that really isn't so in these books. I mean, Richard Sharpe isn't telling people where to put a cannon or how to steer the boat. He's not telling people how to do cavalry charges, but he does know how to defend against them as a foot soldier, and he knows how to set up infantry troops and lead the rank and file. And that's what I like about it, right? He's a guy that knows his lane and is smart enough to be scared when he is thrown outside of it, and I think that is fun to see. It is also interesting to meet characters who are going to be in some of the later books, especially like some of the captains and some of the other naval crew, who he'll meet again throughout different periods of the European campaigns. And yeah, I love this book. It's definitely a change from some of the three books that take place in India. Doesn't have all the action of Fortress, but I think it's a great book that's setting up the series for what's gonna come next. The next video I do on this will be about Richard Sharpe and the book Prey, which I think it's just called Sharpe's Prey, which is book 5, and I'll be honest, it is not one of my favorite books, so just be forewarned. It is definitely not my favorite book in the series, but it is a needed book. But yeah, I don't want to spoil too much of Trafalgar for you, because there are some epic battles here, and there are also some twists and turns that I don't think a lot of people are going to see coming, and that's what makes book 4 so much fun. If you are following along with the series, or you've read this series, and you like this book or didn't like this book, please leave a comment below. And as always, please like and subscribe, and I will see you guys next time.